Leading with Lineage.
California Reparations Task Force hearings.
Final report recommendations.
California Freedmen Affairs Agency, CAFA office.
The Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice.
Free the land, eminent domain, unjust property taking return.
The Mass Media Group was there. Reparations Now, the documentary where it all began.
Released Juneteenth, 2023.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR roof, don't tune in.
Available to watch on Tubi TV and other streaming outlets. As always, thank you for the support. Please like, share, and subscribe to your number one source for reparations and news. Until next time, peace and reparations.
My name is Nikki O'Cook. I am. I've been following it. Well, for me, I think my husband and his grandparents, they all bought houses here in South LA, and it's been real hard to keep hold of them. I think help with housing, both for folks that are buying houses and for folks that are renting houses. So some sort of down payment assistance would be a great way for reparations to inform. But I also think that the main part about this whole thing is that they don't really need to tell us how to spend money that's already owed to us. So, I don't think that it needs to be really programmed. I just think that we need to be paid.
Specifically, I know you in houses. What about cash payments, maybe land, any other proposals or programs you can think about outside of the housing?
Yeah, I would say in all fairness that honestly people just need to be compensated for money that was stolen from them and their families. I think that in any other law case or lawsuit, when somebody has something stolen from them and a settlement is paid to them, it's just paid in cash, and it's on them to decide how they distribute or use those funds. So honestly, I don't think it needs to go to fund necessarily programs. It just needs to be paid to the people who it's owed to.
Okay, so it's funny that you mentioned that because I've been personally told that some people are against, specifically those who should be repaired in this country, that they're concerned on how they should spend their money once they get their reparations. And just to be honest with you, I don't know if people would say that same thing, people who have Jewish descent or Japanese who receive reparations. So what do you think about that, if people telling people that they're concerned about those who receive reparations, that they'll be concerned how they spend it and it'll be their tax money?
Well, I mean, when folks were buying and selling human beings and making profit from it, no one was telling them how they could use their profit. When that profit was later compounded into inheritances, real estate, and passed down through generations of wealth, no one was telling those white descendants how they should use the proceeds that they received from the slave trade and from the plantation work. So honestly, since white folks never had to be accountable for how they use the money that they generated from our labor, I don't see why we should have to submit receipts for reimbursement for money that's owed to us.
All right, thank you. Is there any words of encouragement? We're out here on Juneteenth, also Father's Day for people. Do you have any children? You do have. You do have children. Okay.
I have 3 beautiful children and a wonderful husband. His grandparents both moved here to South LA from the South, escaping white supremacy, terrorism, and we started a life here, and my children are never going to get their 40 acres that was owed to them. So reparations are a way for them to receive the wealth that so many other white children will inherit from their parents and grandparents.
Okay. So that was basically, I was going to ask you, how do you see, in the future, how reparations could, help your children and other people who've been harmed in this country?
Well, my mother's white, and on the white side of my family, I've definitely witnessed that her grandmother and grandparents coming from Arkansas, they had wealth to invest in real estate and property, and that is not a gift that my children have because they are the descendants of slaves. And so in order to make it fair, I think every black child should be receiving the same type of intergenerational wealth and inheritance that all the white children are getting.
Cool. All right, thank you.
I'm common sense from the field, Marvin Harrell, a citizen of Los Angeles, California. I'm here on Degman at Leimert Park, enjoying the festivities of Juneteenth, on June the 19th. And the thing is that I seen a brother in passing, and I called him over because I seen him with his equipment. Because y'all, I love to share. Why do I love to share? Because I do have a few things to say. At 62 years old, I've been through a lot of different, experiences on the course of my journey. And on the course of my journey, I've learned that it is me. Everything has to do with me. It's what I prescribe myself to. It's what do I believe. It's what I know. It's what I want to do. No one can orchestrate me but me and my Creator. And that's it, and that's all. And the reason why I had mentioned the mind, because the mind is all. Whatever you subject your mind to is what you become, because there's no default in God. Whatever I do repetitiously and consciously, that's what I become. Whoever I surround myself around, that's what I become, because we pick up character through what? Sound, symbols, and vibrations, and interaction with others. Because if I stand in front of McDonald's every day, bumming the quarters, guess what? I'm gonna be an expert at bumming quarters. But if I study apparatus like a automobile engine and study it every day on a constant basis, guess what? I'm gonna become an auto mechanic. I'm gonna be familiar with those pieces. So the thing is that it's all about what do you want in your heart? I'm not religious, but I do quote some spiritual things from the Bible if it makes sense. And in the Bible it says that the Most High will give you a heart's desire. I believe that, because whatever I do constantly is what I become. That's just like if I was a bodybuilder. It takes repetition and just a lot of repetition, and eventually I'm gonna build muscle. It's the same thing with life. Whatever you do constantly is what you become. So we don't have to submit to somebody else's dictations. We can create our own dictations through our own mind, because that's one of the greatest things that God gave us, is a mind, and use your imagination, and just know to do what's right at all times, you know what I mean? I'm common sense from the field, man. I just hope that I was able to connect with somebody to make somebody else's life better. One.
Okay, here we go. So right now we're following the task force, the California Reparations Task Force. Are you familiar with the California Reparations Task Force?
No, I'm not familiar with that particular segment of reparations, but I have heard of the term reparations, where we as so-called African Americans would like to get our 40 acres and a mule.
And what would reparations look like to you? What would reparations look like to you if people who've been enslaved in this country were to receive them?
Well, reparations would look, it would look gracefully to me, because we as a people, from my understanding, are really not a bad people. I think a lot of times when you see despair and hopelessness, anger and deceit, is because of economics. I think economics play a large role in how people are going to interact with one another within a community, because a community is a body, and just like any other body, it needs substance to sustain itself, so that it don't feed off itself. Because when you malnutrition only kicks in when the body needs those essential nutrients and vitamins so that it can continue. So in our community, a lot of times we are depleted of resources and economic funds, and that's why a lot of times we, how can I say it, feed off of one another instead of going against the ones who has created this here, these terms that we are accepting as a good agreement, you know. Event that has taken place, but I believe it's in Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach. One of those beaches where the family, but the family was reciprocated for property that was initially theirs, that was taken away from them, from Europeans, and they were booted off of their property, and they just won that settlement, which ran into millions and millions of dollars. So I'm saying that to say this here, us as African American people, you know, if you have the time or the means, it don't hurt to research your ethnicity here in this country, and find out if there's anything that you're entitled to, because our names are on deeds that we don't even have knowledge of. That's another form of reparation right there, because you know, because they literally took some things from us, and it's a whole lot of us running around here that own property that our ancestors had given us, that we don't even realize that's ours.
Mikael Yashara.
All right, brother. So, can you talk a little bit about reparations and your understanding about reparations?
They owe us $999 trillion 12 times. There's 12 tribes of Israel, which is Negroes, but they owe us so much, they're gonna have to pay us that, man. It's unbelievable. We invented the car. We invented Lewis Lattimore invented electricity. Electricity is everywhere. C.R. Patterson invented the car. Thousands of cars, millions of cars in the world. They owe us so much money. It's unbelievable, man. They're gonna have to pay us, or God is going to destroy that race of people for what they used us and abused us, lynched us. They owe us, man. They owe us too much.
Now, what do you think reparations look like? You think cash, land?
All of that. Gold and silver. They owe each one of us individually $6 million. That's what I'm saying. I'm on TV. I'm not scared. Man, look what we've done over the past. We invented almost everything there was. Guess what we invented recently? The cell phone. What's his name? Russell invented the cell phone. And then we invented the computer. Black, I don't know his name. Come on, man, them inventions, and they use them off of our mentality? Come on, bro. We are the greatest. We are the great. We're getting ready to be redeemed. The whole world will be destroyed for us.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, sir. Peace be with thee.
Peace be with you. All right, sir. Can you say your name for the people?
Yes, my name is Hiram Carabello. What was that?
Where you from?
Oh, originally Boston, but I'm Puerto Rican by ethnicity.
All right, so are you familiar with the California Reparations Task Force here in
Yes, I have. I actually have been keeping up with it lately. So yeah, I am familiar with the conversation that's going on right now and what it's trying to be, and what they're trying to accomplish right now. So I think just like with any task force that has come up in previous, like HR 40, because I think HR 40 really became nothing, and just because there's a task force doesn't mean that we have to keep our eye off the ball. I think for my community, like, they really need to make sure that the conversation doesn't steer to the left or the right. That if we're talking about cash reparations, that's what it's got to stay on. It's got to be lineage based and not anywhere, and constantly have to keep an eye on it to make sure that they don't try to change the goalposts. You know what I'm saying? Because if they say, well, okay, we're going to keep it lineage based, but starting from the 1900 Census Bureau of that time, that's going to be difficult because too many non-foundational Black Americans will be able to come into that and say, hey, my parents were here, but you weren't part of the actual building of of America of the time. You know what I'm saying? People have to understand, especially, and I've always said this, I think mainly white people a lot of times really have to understand what the reparations is. It's for unpaid labor that built this country, okay? Nobody wants to do a job and not get paid for it. Not only did the ancestors not get paid for it, but they were brutalized and murdered for it. So now too many white people in the community and others can benefit off the buildings for free labor of this country, and they want to say, oh, pull yourself up by your bootstrap. But what happens every time the Black community does that? And the Black community has shown millions of times over that we've been able to lift ourselves up by our own bootstraps. But what happens? Tulsa, Rosewood, others like that, that have been burnt down. New York City, Seneca Village, Lake Lanier, just too many to talk about, like every time we get pull up by our bootstrap. But then again, and I'll use more recent examples, like Afghanistan got millions and billions of dollars. Ukraine just got $40 billion. Immigrants from Mexico are getting money to immigrate here. Nobody bats an eyelash, right? Check this out. The Jewish people are still getting money from the American government. Native Americans are still getting reparations to this day. And where do you think that money comes from? Because people will say, oh, I don't want my money going out of my taxes to pay for reparations. Your money's already paying reparations for all these other groups. You know what I'm saying? I think that there's an innate fear by the dominant society just to keep the Black community subjugated by not giving them resources. Because they know, like, for example, like if they thought that the entire Black community was just gonna go out and buy Gucci, Prada, and Jordans and not build any actual infrastructure for themselves, then they'd be like, sure, let's give them money because they're gonna give it right back to us. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's been an argument that's been presented quite a few times, that, oh, well, and even people within the Black community say, well, I don't know, we should get money because too many of us are just gonna f it off. And like, that may be true, but at the same time, people forget there's plenty of educated brothers and sisters out there that know what they're gonna do with that money once they get it. You know what I mean? So we cannot allow the naysayers, even from within, to stop that from happening. And like I said, with the California committee, we have to keep an eye on them to make sure that they do not steer the conversation to what the white community wants or the white supremacists want. Let's be real. You know what I'm saying? Because you have a lot of undercover white supremacists out here acting like they don't like Black people. You know what I'm saying? So my biggest thing is that I think that this is a step in the right direction if we're able to make sure that cash payments is the first and only thing that reparations should be talking about. You know, if you want to have add-ons, to have that be add-on later, like education or land grants or things of that nature, let that be after. First, initially, cut a check. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I've always said, like, a lot of my talking points are not my talking points. You know, I listen to master teachers out there like Dr. Neely Fuller, Dr. Claude Anderson, and nowadays I listen to Tariq Nasheed, Jason Black, Professor Black Truth, Vicki Dillard, just to name a few. And you know, anybody who's talking real black empowerment, because the thing is that my interest is not only to help my brothers and sisters in the community to gain what they lost and what they need, is because understanding that if reparation goes through the way it's supposed to here in California, it'll filter through to the other states and eventually all 50 states wherever it needs to be. And then what that will also entail will be putting a wedge in the so-called white supremacist you know, plan for us, and it's more against us, not for us, you know what I'm saying? So anything that will help diminish white supremacy and the systemic racism that we have to deal with is a step in the right direction.